Good morning. I'm Melanie Willoughby, and I am the Executive Director of the New Jersey Business Action Center. And I really want to welcome everyone this morning to our webinar on inclusive hiring, one solution to the labor shortage. I think it's really, really important for all of us to learn about what options are available to employers and all options. And the Business Action Center works very closely with employers to help them find the employees that they need. So introducing employers to the vocational rehabilitation services that are available in the state was very, very important to us. So that is why we decided to join together with Easter Seals and the New Jersey Division of Vocational Rehab Services, which is in the Department of Labor today, to bring you this webinar. And we have some outstanding speakers today. But before we get into the specifics from our speakers, I would like to have an opportunity to tell you just a little bit about the Business Action Center, which you may not be familiar with. So going to the Business Action Center, we are from state government, and we are really here to help your business. We have a business first attitude in which we are here to help you facilitate meetings and follow-ups with regulatory agencies and to introduce you to the benefits and services that the agencies provide that can be of service to you, like at the Vocational Rehabilitation Division. So we have business advocates who are available daily to be of service to you. And you can ask our business experts on a live chat feature that we have on business.nj.gov, which is open from Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, or you can call 1-800-JERSEY-7, and we have both English and Spanish speaking business advocates. So we have 3 offices that are devoted to business advocacy. First is our Office of Business Advocacy, where we have individuals who are experts in commercial real estate. They're going to help you find the right location, whether you're growing or consolidating, and they're going to help you with permitting. Then our Office of Small Business Advocacy, which is really, really helpful to any of the startups, everyone on Main Street, helping you navigate tax compliance and licensing requirements, and helping you with your business and marketing plans, which is very important when you're thinking about growing your business. And our Office of Export Promotion, which has grants available to businesses, large and small, to help you with exporting. And exporting has really grown in New Jersey, even during COVID. So we really encourage you to kick the tires a little bit and see if exporting is for you. So we want you to think of the back as your connector, the great connector, because we connect you with capital, and that's going to be at the local, state, and federal grant and loan level. We're going to help you with identifying what rules and regulations are specific to your business that impact you, like helping you with paid family leave or any of the COVID regulations, or can I require my employees to all be vaccinated? And we also are going to help you with your licensing and certification requirements. So when we connect people, who do we connect them to? Well, there's the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, which has loans and grants. There's the Treasury Department, where you get your tax compliance certificate. There's the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, who we're going to have on our webinar today, talk about workforce training options. The Consumer Affairs, where you get your licenses. Department of Community Affairs, where you can actually work with them on building permits. Then the Small Business Development Centers, which are regional, and they're around the entire state, and we'll connect you to them because they can help you for free because they're funded by the SBA, and they will be there for you to help you with your marketing plan as well as your business plan. And then anything that's available from your municipality or your county, we can help you with that also. So wrapping up, I want you to know that if you go to business.nj.gov, you can sign up for our weekly e-news so that you're always knowing about what the new laws and regulations are. You can talk to our back business experts at any time, and we are your resource. So if you remember anything from this entire webinar, of course, you're going to remember a lot because we're going to provide you with the slides, so you'll have them. But it's to know that you can call us at 1-800-JERSEY-7, or you can go to business.nj.gov and go on our live chat and ask your questions. Now, just in terms of our process today, we're going to hear from first the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Then we're going to hear from the Easter Seals. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat, please. And we will be answering questions at the end of our session, completely at the end. And we're happy to also make sure that you're all going to get a copy of the video as well, because we're recording. So without further ado, I would now like to introduce our panelists. So I'm going to introduce them all at once, and then we're going to flow from the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation into Easter Seals, and then we'll end, I'll come back, and we'll go through the questions. Okay, so first, I would like to introduce Mark Schweitzer. He is a trained vocational evaluator. He has a master's level counselor and certified social worker with over 25 years of experience in the rehabilitation field. He has placed numerous individuals with disabilities into competitive integrated employment over his 14 years as a vocational rehab counselor. Mark brings his knowledge and expertise with workforce development to his role as a consultant to the DVRS business outreach team. Then we have Jennifer Venziani. She is in her 20th year with the New Jersey Department of Labor, and during her tenure, she served as a counselor for various programs that organized the first Learning Link in Burlington County. And upon completion of her master's degree from the Rutgers University, she joined the New Jersey Division of Voc Rehab as a counselor, senior counselor, supervisor, and is currently a consultant with the business outreach team. Now, I'd also like to introduce our folks from Easter Seals as well. And so first up is Bert Brooks. He has spent the last 16 years working with disability service organizations, helping individuals with disabilities advance their interests and achieve their goals. As a result, he has acquired a wealth of insight and experience as an advocate and communications professional. He uses his skills to educate the public about the importance of equality, inclusion, and access in our communities. And as the head of storytelling at Easter Seals, New Jersey, Bert finds compelling ways to share the success stories of persons with disabilities to battle stigma and encourage empathy. Next and last is Rachel Smith. She is the Career Exploration Coordinator for Easter Seals, New Jersey, and has worked in the field of human services for the past 10 years. As a Career Exploration Coordinator, Rachel provides employment support for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And in 2019, Rachel became a certified employment support professional, and the following year became a member of the Leadership Cumberland County Class of 2020. Rachel's current goal is to expand career exploration programs by connecting with New Jersey businesses to provide additional career exploration opportunities and successful job placements for members of the disability community. I'd like to welcome all of our panelists who have outstanding credentials and experience and who are going to bring us a phenomenal webinar today. And so we are very pleased that we were able to also get the webinar in on the last day of the month, because you know that this is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and so we just need it. So without further ado, I would now like to bring up Easter Seals of New Jersey, and thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Actually, we are kicking it off with the Division of Vocational Rehab today, and this is really an exciting time. We're so incredibly grateful for the New Jersey Business Action Centers who've given us this opportunity and platform to be able to speak about something that's so critically important. During the last year, we had actually 21 months. I was reminded of that yesterday. We've been in the pandemic. And during that, though, our businesses have truly changed the landscape of the labor market. We are really looking for different alternatives to be able to go and to consider in order to get employees in the front door. Today, we're going to be presenting regarding that and how we can go and really talk about ways that we can close the gap on the labor shortage. I'm joined today by my colleague, Mark Schweitzer, and we'll go over the different regions that we go and that we cover. At the end, Mark and I will both put our information in the chat box so that you can reach out to us with any questions that you might have. Steve, if you can go to the first slide. As Melanie said, this month is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. This is not something that's new. And actually in 1945, for a little bit of a history lesson, in 1945, Congress went and had the National Employ the Physically Handicapped Week. And they designated the first week of October for that. Moving along in 1962, they removed the word physically to make it National Employ the Handicapped Week. Then as we get into the late 80s, in 1988, Congress went and made the determination that we would have National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So for the month of October, as we close out on this, you may have seen in your social media, your LinkedIn profiles, a lot of different information regarding going and figuring out what inclusive hiring is. I'm so grateful that all of you are joining us today, because this means that you have an interest, or maybe you've thought about it, but you've gone and said, you know what, how do we go and how do we make this work for our company? And we'll go through that, as well as an overview of the services that are provided through the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. As you can see on the slide today, I love the theme for this year. It's America's Recovery Powered by Inclusion. As I've been out talking with businesses, many of them have said, you know, we lost a lot of people, but one thing has really been true, and that is there has been a tremendous amount of retention for those with disabilities on their staff. So that's really something to go and to consider. I was recently in a business in Pennsauken. I serve Southern New Jersey. And the gentleman said to me, you know, we really have a problem with retention. And retention is something that I'm really proud that we have many clients that have been with the same company, but moved up within that company, and they've been there for decades. So that may not always be the truth, but at the same time, that's something that you really need to consider. What is the cost in terms of retraining somebody? Whereas maybe you can keep that person for a longer period of time. Steve, if you can move to the next slide. With that, I want you to look at this presentation as one of two things. You come today as a business person. You come to us maybe as part of HR, talent acquisition, or a front-end manager. Wherever you are in your business, of course, you're going to think of our presentation in that way. But I also want you to think of it as a member in the community. Whether you're a parent of somebody with a disability, a family member, a neighbor, just a member of the community in general. And I want you to think, even though you may not be ready for inclusive hiring practices with your business, there are ways that you can go and drive referrals in the front door of the Division of Voc Rehab. We are the oldest public rehabilitation service in the country, with over more than 100 years of experience. So that doesn't, I don't take that lightly. It's something that we've been doing for a long time. As Melanie said today, we are joined by our friends at Easter Seals, who are one of many vendors that we go and work with to be able to provide those services for individuals with disabilities. But we're the ones that go and make the connection one way or the other, whether it comes in our front door or Easter Seals front door and back over to us for funding. We're all interconnected, and we're appreciative of the relationships that we have. So if you're thinking of someone with a disability, this is something that I want you to consider, and we can link you up with one of our 18 field offices that would be able to go and to provide individual services for that individual. So this, what is DVRS? The Division of Vocational Rehab, as Melanie said, is housed within the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development. We help individuals with disabilities prepare for, obtain, and maintain competitive employment in the community. And this is where you come in. The partnerships that we have are something I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of long-term partnerships down in the southern region. We don't want anything to be episodic where it's one and done. We want to be able to go and to build long-lasting relationships with the partners in our areas. That's something that Mark and I really thrive on. And the best compliment that we can get is when a business comes back to us and what do they say? Jen, can you get me another client? Can you get me another employee that's going to be able to go into and contribute to our bottom line? For example, in Gloucester County, I was able to go and to place 37 individuals into one warehouse. And here we are almost 4 years later, many of those individuals continue to work in that warehouse. So that's just one example. We have other partnerships with hospitals, banking organizations throughout the country, or I'm sorry, throughout the state. But with that, if you are also looking at seeing how inclusive hiring can work for you, Mark and I would be your people. And finally, the last point of the Division of Vocational Rehab. Our professional staff, all of us, are master's level counselors. We're highly trained in the field of vocational rehabilitation. So if you have your hat on as far as being a community member, this is something that I want you to consider. If you have an individual, by all means, feel free to reach out to Mark and I, and we're more than happy to put you on the path to work with one of our master's level clinicians to be able to go and to move that individual to employment or move them up within the ladder within their organization. I'll now turn it over to Mark, who will go over some of the territories that we have with the Division of Vocational Rehab. Mark?
Thank you, Jen. My name is Mark Schweitzer, and I'm a consultant, the business outreach team. I was hired to do that in April of 2017, and we are basically a new unit within the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services. So I cover the north part of the state, and that includes Bergen, Essex, Hudson, Hunterdon, Morris, Middlesex, Passaic, Somerset, Sussex, Union, and Warren. It's a very wide territory, but you know, we are 3 right now, and we have added to our team, and it will be coming out very soon who will be added to the team, and we will let you know. But for right now, we will be your consultants. Cheryl Cassiano, who could not be on the call today, her counties are Burlington, Mercer, Monmouth, and Ocean, and Jennifer is currently covering Atlantic, Camden, Cape May, Cumberland, Gloucester, and Salem. Next slide, please. So we are the link to the business community. Okay, we provide information to the offices, to our counselors, to managers and supervisors, the jobs that are available that we get as business consultants. We put the job leads in the form of readable lists so that they can see what's available in their areas. And then we circulate these job postings to the offices. Okay, but we're sending lists and lists and lists, and we wonder how many people are actually taking advantage of those job leads. Okay, so we started, since the pandemic, we started to look at different ways of doing things. So employers are very receptive to doing informational sessions. So we look to those types of scenarios so that the employers can come in and talk to the office staff, to the managers, to the supervisors, the counselors, and then can relay the information about their jobs to the consumers so that they get an idea of actually what the jobs are all about. It's a more desirable way of handling things, and I've seen positive results from those types of scenarios. I've had a number of hires in the north where the companies have come in and done informational sessions, and I've gotten a number of referrals from those, and was able to do some successful hirings. And Jennifer's right. It's all about what have you done for me lately? And if you provide a successful candidate, and that person shows that they're able to hang in there and do the job, then certainly that's a very good thing, and you'll get repeat business from that. We do pre-screen all of the referrals that come through so that we can offer the business the right people for the job. We won't send anybody who we don't feel is the right fit. We provide technical support for on-the-job training programs. We will come in and explain what on-the-job trainings are all about. It's going to be handled by the counselor in the office who has to develop the contract with the business, but we can offer technical support and follow up to find out how everything is going. Okay, the services that we do is more of a concierge type of thing, where we're involved with the business community, and we're also involved with the offices. So we are actually the link to all the employment. Information and assistive technology. We have agencies that specialize in this, and we can ask them to come out and do assistive technology evaluations. A lot of companies think that workplace accommodations are very costly, and they're really not. Okay, so we can have our people come out and look to see what's needed. So those types of things are offered by the DVRS. Disability etiquette training, there's a lot of that needed now. With the onset of diversity, inclusion, and those types of things currently, companies want to know how to talk to people with disabilities. It's usually an unfamiliarity. You'd want to use first person language. You want to talk to them like they were an individual. So that's very important. And also there are hiring incentives that we want to make you aware of. There's work opportunity tax credits where you can get a tax credit for hiring somebody with a disability. The other thing is on-the-job training programs offer payment to you for up to 6 months for half the salary if you are an approved vendor of the state, and we can help you with that as well. So we have a lot of resources that can help you with your talent acquisitions. Please reach out to us. We're here. We'd like to help you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bert.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark. Those are all fantastic resources, and I definitely encourage anyone to take advantage of those. So can we move on to the next slide there, Steve? All right. So one of the titles of this was about a solution to your labor shortage. So these are some of the headlines that, if you haven't been living under a rock, you've probably seen floating around the internet. So if we could just go through some of these, you'll see, these are all pretty familiar. So where are we in terms of solving this issue, aside from the traditional methods that we go through? I mean, people have been recruiting. You see signs everywhere. You see people over the internet. I see ads everywhere in terms of trying to hire people, but this problem persists. So how do we get from these headlines to this final headline, which you'll see here in a moment? No labor shortage at Middletown Cafe, staffed by workers with intellectual disabilities. This is an actual headline. I'm not making it up. This is something that came out recently, and it really does speak to how people with disabilities can help solve this labor crisis, at least in part. So if we move to the next slide, we'll take a look at how the individuals, workers with disabilities, can benefit your business beyond just being a body in a workplace. They are, as you see these stats here, that they are known for work quality, motivation, engagement, integration with coworkers, dependability, and attendance. 92% are surveyed to be more favorable towards companies that hire individuals with disabilities, which actually leads to the $1 trillion market of families and friends and associates and individuals with disabilities who look favorably on those businesses. And also when it comes to retention, which Jen was speaking about, which is a huge cost, right? You're looking at reduced amounts of that because turnover for workers with disabilities is actually lower because those individuals are ready to work. They want training, they want experience. So that's why these turnover rates are so low. The unemployment rate for people with disabilities is higher than those without. So this is a group of individuals that is looking for experience, looking for new opportunities, particularly at an entry level. But there are also other individuals who have great training and great skills that are ready to work for you as long as you're ready to work with them. And that's what we're here to talk about today, how to get your business ready for this inclusive hiring environment. So we'll go to the next slide. And my colleague Rachel is going to speak a bit here.
All right, thanks, Bart. Good morning, everybody. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the services that Easter Seals provides. We have an extended employment as well as supportive employment. And so our extended employment program trains workers with disabilities hands-on in a work center environment where they learn important skills that then translate and transfer into their community employment. Our supportive employment is more based in the community, so on the job coaching and community placement supports. So this is assistance with completing resumes, creating resumes, completing applications, and support throughout the interview process and onboarding. And here's a few examples of some of the jobs that our clients have done. We've taken individuals to go to auto detailing centers, museums, different facilities to try out different jobs, restaurants, hotels, all types of work in hospitality, food service, janitorial, warehouse, caregiving. Our clients are really open to a lot of different job opportunities and are always excited to try new things. So here's a few examples of that. And you can go on to the next slide.
Okay. So one of the solutions that we've developed, aside from our traditional services, is we actually had a recruitment firm reach out to us, and they were saying, hey, do you have anything that could help us tap into this market, this untapped market, the talent pool of persons with disabilities who are looking to work? And we said, no, we don't, but we can make it for you. And that's where this inclusive hiring guide that we've created for 2021 has come about in honor of National Disability Awareness Month, Employment Awareness Month. So if you take a look here, it's a free guide. We're all about just increasing employment outcomes for people with disabilities. And we want you to be able to look at this population differently, because unfortunately there is a little bit of a stigma there, and there's some I'll say it's an improper education that the media gives us as far as what people with disabilities are capable of, and a lack of exposure as well to this population. So if you're looking to attract diverse applicants, learn interview etiquette, learn about employee accommodations, workplace culture, these are all things that we cover in our guide. That you'll see the link is there. It's there, free to download. It's not going to cover everything, but this is meant to be a primer to get you started. And then you'll be able to work with organizations such as DVR or us to be able to really get your business ready for this new group of employees that are going to boost your business. All right, next slide.
So we just wanted to introduce this idea of, different definitions of disability. So sometimes when you think of someone with a disability, the first thing that pops into your head is someone in a wheelchair. But there are really a lot of different types of disabilities, including deaf and hard of hearing, brain injuries, learning disabilities, speech and language, vision loss, all the disabilities that are displayed here, as well as more in addition to this. And so when you're thinking about hiring somebody with a disability, it's a lot broader and a lot bigger than just a physical disability. So we're here to help, provide education on these different disabilities. It can be confusing for an employer to know about these different disabilities and how that might, change the employee's job a little bit, but it also can allow them to be really successful and really excellent employees as well. So we're here to provide support in that as well. Okay, next slide.
Okay, so that brings us to the question of how accessible is your front door, not just for your consumers, but also for future employees and current employees. Because what if the perfect candidate showed up to your door tomorrow and they were deaf? Would you be ready to hire them? Do you know what to do? You need to ask yourself this question. Your top talent was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Is your workplace prepared to provide support, or will you risk losing your top talent? Or looking at it selfishly, let's say you were in an accident, needed to use a wheelchair. Would you be able to get to your desk? These are important questions to ask yourself, because disability and disability accommodation, particularly in the workplace, doesn't limit itself to just those who happen to be identified currently as having a disability. This applies to everyone, because on a long enough timeline, everyone joins the disability community, right? And as people are working longer and longer in their age, you're having more opportunity to join the population of persons with disabilities, which there's nothing wrong with that, as long as we're able to accommodate those individuals in the workplace. All right, so we'll talk a bit more about that. Next slide. So with workplace culture, when I say about getting ready for bringing people into the job, I actually am seeing in the chat, Latoya's talking about accommodations being unique to every individual and workplace, and she's absolutely right. So we want to get ahead of the awkwardness and get you ready here. So when you're looking at workplace culture, you want to say, how are we going to overcome the gap of information that is provided to individuals about who might have are neurodiverse, or have mental illness, or have a physical disability, are going to be arriving in the workplace. Sometimes people have a hands-off approach, and that's no way to work, where they say, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about any of this, I'm not going to help, I don't know what to do. And it's better to have more of a conversation early on, show people the kinds of accommodations and what disabilities include, so that, and what those individuals can accomplish, because there are great, fantastic stories from everything from Mozart to Temple Grandin, individuals who have been super successful in the workplace or in their craft, who have had a disability of some kind. So showing people that it's not, those individuals that are being brought to the workplace are not someone just to be helped. They're someone that's there to help, right? So that's something that we offer as part of our workforce development program, is to help get your business and your workplace culture ready. And that includes even your benefits, taking a look at what your facilities look like, and really getting everybody behind the idea of being more accepting and being more accommodating. Okay, next slide.
So we have a short list of accommodations here. There are many that can be provided as an on-the-job accommodation. And just highlight a few of these. So, uncluttered hallways, that's something that really is going to benefit everybody in the company, because you want to be aware of people that may have difficulty getting through the hallways, but also just preventing hazards for everybody. Extended task time, so providing an accommodation and allowing somebody to take a little bit of extra time on a certain task, and flexible scheduling. So this could be, even if it's that the individual takes public transportation and the bus schedule does not line up with the scheduled time that you have listed for this job. An accommodation might be as simple as allowing them to start 15 minutes ahead of time or 15 minutes late, and change the time that they are done their shift, just so that they could take the public bus. There's other, job duty reference sheets. So we could help provide these in the case that an individual has a job that requires certain materials, such as a janitorial position, you require certain materials to clean certain areas of the facility. We could create a sheet with pictures that explain step by step how to do each job with the correct materials. There's a lot of different accommodations that are usually free or very minimal expense, and will really allow your employees to be successful.
And that hot tip at the bottom, don't ignore that. I mean, I know I mentioned it before, but if something were to happen to you, it happened to me recently. I broke my shoulder recently. My puppy ran in front of me and I broke my shoulder. That's what happened as a result. But what has happened from that is that if I go into the office and there's an automatic door there, hey, I'm going to be able to carry my bag and get into this room. It's not just necessarily for someone who's using a wheelchair or a walker of some kind that needs to use it, but that's necessary. That's ADA compliance to make sure that those individuals can get in the room. But hey, I benefit from it as well. Doing speech to text has helped me a lot because I was only able to type with one hand because my shoulder was broken. And the speech to text allowed me to work at the same pace that I was working at previously, or at least close to. So these are the things that are, if you open up your mind in terms of how this inclusive hiring can impact your entire business and really help your bottom line beyond even just the labor shortage and hiring new people, you'll really see that there's a lot of new opportunities and new technology out there that helps everybody across the board. And if you're ever curious about how these can work, anything from screen readers for individuals with low vision or for ASL interpreters, and how and when to schedule those for, say, a Zoom meeting, which might have an auto caption function. So you may not need the interpreter in there, depends on the individual. But maybe for an interview, the person comes in and you don't have an interpreter scheduled, it's going to be very difficult to interview that person for the job, or it might take a little bit longer passing notes back and forth, and that could get frustrating for everybody. So these are things that you want to be prepared for as you go forward with your accommodations and not be surprised by. That's why we kind of put together this most common list. All right, next slide. Okay, so recruiting the right talent. So we talked about attracting the right talent, recruiting the right talent. How is that going to happen? So part of that is making sure your business from the beginning. I know that if I ever applied for a job or look to work with a partner or business, I go to their website first and foremost. I look at their social media. I take a look and I say, okay, what is this company all about? Right now, if I go on there and I can't access their content because their website isn't accessible or their social media is not accessible, that sends a signal to me that, oh, this business isn't going to be very accommodating, or they don't know that they should be accommodating individuals on these digital channels. So in this book, the Inclusive Guide, we offer solutions for that. We explain how you can use alt text and closed caption and the best ways to employ them on your social media channels. And we provide different checklists that you can download and just put up on your desk wall or your home office and say, oh, you know what? When I build this new web page, is everyone going to be able to use this? When I put out this digital flyer, is everyone going to be able to access it? These are all things that send a signal to employees with disabilities, or future employees with disabilities, that you are an inclusive business, that you take equal opportunity seriously. You don't just tack it on to the end of a job description, which, speaking of job descriptions, that's another place. When are you turning people away before you even say their resume? Because you put in there, sometimes there's some throwaway things that we kind of are just used to putting into a job description. Something like can only lift, must be able to lift 30 pounds and carry it so many feet or whatever it is. Well, that might put somebody who's a wheelchair user or may have limited mobility in their hands, they may not apply for that job because they don't think that's correct for them. So you need to take a look and see, does this really need to be in the job description, right? And just to move past this, these are all things that you can also look in from your interview etiquette and the appropriate language to use. That's all in the guide. I won't spend too much time because I know we have to keep going. So next slide.
So these are just a few of the ways that we can assist with helping you incorporate people with disabilities into your businesses and hire people with disabilities. So job sampling is one of those ways, and this is a really great opportunity for the business to see the participant or applicant try the job, and also for the client to see what the job is like themselves. So we would come with the individual that's applying for the job and stay with them on site and see how they work and how they are fit for this position or not, for about 2 to 3 hours. And we could do that over the course of several weeks if you would like that. And it gives the business a chance to see that person in the position doing the job and be able to assess whether or not that's a good match and that's a good fit. Workforce development, we're always available to help your workforce with training and upskilling in collaboration with DVRS and seeing what kind of training would be helpful. Also, we are connected with the county workforce offices to learn about new businesses that are opening and preparing our clients with the skills that will be needed to address those hiring needs. Employee training, this could again be with collaboration with DVRS, or something as simple as helping an employee complete a digital training that they don't have time to do during their normal workday, or maybe they don't have access to the technology needed to complete the training. So that's something we could meet with them at our offices and help them with completing those trainings. Business consultation services. So, in the past we've had manufacturers reach out to us and say, hey, we have this big opportunity. We need 10 employees and we can't find anybody. Can you please come in and tell us how we could work with you to meet these hiring needs? And so we go in and we see what are the jobs available, what are the tasks, what are the hours, how is the access to transportation for people to actually get to this warehouse, and sort of provide consultation to the business to make their positions more accessible and more desirable for people with disabilities. I'm sorry, I'm frozen here. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Rachel, no problem.
Okay.
No problem. You weren't frozen on a funny face either. You were good.
Okay. And just, recruitment tactics, which Bert talked about, and then collaborating with government agencies like DVRS to make sure that we're supporting the workforce as much as we can. Okay, next slide.
So some of you asked about contact information in the chat, and this is our contact information, as well as the link for downloading that hiring guide, and also our general information line. We have programs of many different types to help many different individuals. So, we encourage you to reach out. We're always open to starting a conversation, particularly around hiring people with disabilities in regards to this webinar. So thank you so much. And that concludes our portion, at least, for where we are. And I'm looking forward to questions and answer section.
Well, thank you so much, Bert and Rachel and Jennifer and Mark, for an incredible presentation. I learned a lot about this opportunity for employers, and I know that we will be sharing this with every employer who contacts the Business Action Center to ask about how can I find good employees. And this will be our first line of approach. So thank you so much. So now let's check the chat and see if we have any questions. So we've got exclamation of excellent presentation, great presentation, which is very nice. Thank you, everyone, for your very nice comments. And we have all the contact information is also in here for everyone. So does anyone have any other questions other than telling us how great we were today, which is always nice to hear, and very informative, I might add, which is the goal always, and that is really, let's see. So everyone knows the presentation will be sent to everyone. We'll also have the recording posted on our websites, and we encourage you, our viewers, also share this with your other employers that you work with. So here's, okay, so someone had a question. Do you provide talent for non-vocational positions, such as management roles? So that's a good question.
Great
Who would
question.
like to take that?
Sure. So that's a great question, Natasha. And I know Maya also went and joined in on that. Talent is talent, and it really runs the gamut in terms of the spectrum of the talent that we go and work with. You know, like Rachel and Bert had both said, and Mark and I agree, that so many times your exposure to individuals with disabilities in the community working, maybe at your local grocery store, they may be, you know, your neighbor who is going and working, and you kind of have an idea. I will say this over the years, that when I've had a caseload as a counselor, it really has run the gamut to anyone maybe with a developmental disability, which we can kind of wrap our head around in terms of Down syndrome, or maybe someone who's deaf. I will say this, I've also, on the other side of the spectrum, I've had a neuropsychologist on my caseload who we were looking to go in to get them back to work. The other thing that you need to think about in terms of the Division of Voc Rehab, we all talked about retention. With retention, we also need to think about, we're always very close to acquiring a disability ourselves. We're aging, number one. Number two is, I'll give you an example. I work with a food distribution center down in South Jersey, and they had someone that did a very specialized thing for their company involving the finances. Unfortunately, the individual had a stroke, and when they went and had this stroke, they needed support to be able to go back to the job. That is another way that the Division of Vocational Rehab might be able to help. So that individual, maybe all of a sudden they're working, everything's fine, and boom, there's a motor vehicle accident, there's a stroke, there's a spinal cord injury. That's also another great opportunity to reach out to the Division of Vocational Rehab to say, how do we get this person back to work? Bert had touched on the importance of being able to go and to limit your liability with job retention, right? There's always a financial liability with that. That's another way that we can go, because we always try to get that individual back to their original position. So again, when you're talking about what jobs are out there, it's not just limited to entry-level positions. And we always want to see a person go and grow up with an organization, get skills to be able to go and to move up that ladder. But we're happy to discuss that more with you one-on-one. Mark, I know, has put our information in the comments.
So we also have a question, thank you very much. If employers would be coached or trained in handling someone who is coming on board who is disabled.
I'd like to handle that one. Yeah, I mean, disability etiquette and sensitivity training is very important these days. And whether the person has, sorry, whether they have a disability or whether it's a racial or ethnic or any sort of situation, I think it's important that the employers know that these issues are important to people and that it affects their culture in their companies. So I think it's very important that they learn about those types of things, bring it to their consciousness.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so let's see if we have others. I think, Mark, you did cover Ms. Davis's question about educating, coaching, or training employers in anti-racism and disabilities for new employees. So I think that you did touch on that. And I don't see any other questions, but I would just actually like you to touch on, for me, some of the financial incentives that employers might be able to benefit from if hiring someone with disabilities. If you just want to touch on that again.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. On-the-job training programs are excellent types of work scenarios. So the way this works is the employer has to, first of all, they have to be able to do business with the state. Okay, so they have to register for their website. It's called NJ Start, START. Okay, so if the business is interested in becoming, a vendor of the state, it's NJ Start website, and you put the information in that they ask for, and then you have an account. Okay, so on-the-job training programs allow for DVR to pay the company half of the salary for up to 6 months. Okay, so they will hire the person, they will undergo up to a 6-month trial work experience, and then DVR will pay half of the salary for that duration. And at the end of the 6 months, hopefully everything has worked out. The person got an opportunity to work on the job. The employer got to see that they were actually a good worker. And all we ask is that there is an evaluation that every so often, I believe it's every pay period or monthly, that they fill out an evaluation of how the person is doing. Okay, so that's really the only parameter. And then this is a local office thing. So the counselor is the person in charge, and they develop a contract with the client and with the business, so they handle it. But we can act as the people who will bring it together, the facilitators of this process, and we'll follow up to make sure that it's going well. And hopefully that will bring us some more OJTs and things like that. So moving away from OJT, there's also work opportunity tax credits. And those are credits that you receive when you hire somebody with a disability. And there's an area on there where there's a statement that somebody with a clinical background has to attest to that they have a disability. And once that is filed and then processed, then the company will get a tax credit for that type of thing. A lot of employers, they don't know what the makeup of their staff is, so they cannot get a work opportunity tax credit for those people, unfortunately. But you know, there are ways through DVR that they can, or other agencies that they can file for that.
Thank you very much, Bart. I really appreciate that. You know, repetition on what those benefits are is always a good thing for employers to remember. So I don't see any other questions in the chat, but I thank everyone for putting all your contact information in there, because I'm certainly hopeful that people will reach out to you. But also remember that we'll be sending this out to everyone who registered, even if they weren't able to make it with to actually the presentation today. It will also be posted and then on our websites, and also we'll be just sending it out to all the local chambers so that they also will have the opportunity to post it for their members. So with that, I really want to thank everyone, Jennifer, Bert, Rachel, Mark, for being with us today. It did an outstanding job and we learned a lot. And so really it's a great way to end the month. Really, thank you all very, very much. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. So signing off from the Business Action Center and from the division and from Easter Seals. Thank you.